There are lots of people in Silicon Valley who call themselves digital analysts, but most of them are frauds. There are some, however, who are real. There are a few guys in Silicon Valley, and women, who really do a very good job professionally analyzing the digital world. And one of those, one of the best known, one of the most productive and interesting of digital analysts in Silicon Valley is my guest today, Brian Solis. Brian, welcome to TechCrunch TV.
Thank you.
Brian, it's been a long time to get you. You're so busy. I think I spent the last year trying to nail you down. What have you been doing?
Well, a lot of it is studying the digital landscape with my colleague Charlene Lee at Altimeter Group. And when you do a lot of research, you're basically living in a cave. You're publishing reports, but then once those reports come out, and also books, no one knows better than you. You're on the road, sort of speaking at companies and events around the world.
I always thought you were kind of a respectable guy, Brian, but you've come out with this new book, WTF of Business. What's that all about?
What's the future of business? It's a little.
Oh, it's not the other WTF, right?
Well, it's it's subliminal in the fact that that's what a lot of us are thinking. WTF. You go into meetings with a lot of executives or leaders or businesses or entrepreneurs, and everybody has an idea. Everything's always about technology, but I think a lot of us are missing sort of the human element of a lot of this, and so I find myself saying WTF quite a bit.
Well, it's a beautifully designed book, Brian. I know you personally were involved in the design, but let me ask you the question, since you have the nerve to put it on the front of your book. What is the future of business, and how, of course, does this relate to Silicon Valley and to TechCrunch and our technology audience?
Yeah, look, the future of business is definitely technology, right? But that's easy. That's a given. That's table stakes. I think for the TechCrunch audience,
What do you mean table stakes?
Just innovation is part of our culture now, right? And if you're not innovative, if you are not disrupting, you're going to be disrupted. It's just a fact of life. But I think too many entrepreneurs and too many businesses rely on the fact that they're trying to invest in technology, they're trying to create apps, they're trying to develop the next new, Airbnb of whatever. But I think
that's a mistake.
Well, it's not that it's a mistake. It's just that you can't rely on the technology for technology's sake. What I've learned as being a digital analyst is that there's more or as great as value in being an aspiring anthropologist as well. Behavior. What challenges do people have? Those present new opportunities that can inspire technology, that can inspire innovation, instead of just having the next big idea, align it with needs or expectations as well.
So let me nail you down then, Brian. What is the future of business?
So the future of business comes down to shared experiences, right? If I am an entrepreneur and I'm developing a product, it doesn't matter what the product can do if you don't share its value with everybody that you know. And so I believe that in order to create shared experiences, you have to define what the experience should be.
So the future of business is experiential?
I believe so. That's why the book is designed the way it is. It's a proof point. It's to prove if you want the future business to be shared experiences, design the experience you want people to have.
And you've designed this very nice book to be itself an experiential thing.
In a super fast answer, I practice what I preach. I've written 5 books. They've all looked like books, small fonts, same old paper. You take this sleeve off of it and it looks just like every other book. But this one, I wanted to show that in order to reach a different type of audience and provide an experience, I had to change it all, right? It's shorter bursts of text, 4 color. It's designed to be an analog app. I studied UX, so it mimics how you would go through an iPad or a traditional app. So you change how you present information because people are changing how they consume information. And if you think about this connected type of customer and you change how you present, you actually find the greater value in the experience you've designed and delivered.
I always used to think of you as an evangelist of social media. How does your love, or perhaps hatred of social media, fit in with this whole theory of the experience?
Well, it's not that I'm antisocial, but
you've shifted. You used to be the big social media guy, and you become more critical, right?
I've become more critical as we should. I was a big proponent of it in the mid-2000s because I did realize that it was opening up channels that you couldn't just push things into anymore. You had to actually listen and be part of at least learning from what was taking place out there. All this talk about big data, it's not about the data, it's about the behavioral elements around it. So social is part of this transformation process. That's why I'm a digital analyst, right? So I'm studying mobile, I'm studying social, I'm studying all of this stuff because they become channels that connect us. And so shared experiences are a big part of that because that's what's going in there. If you
But isn't all social experiential?
Well, certainly, right? But let me put it this way. A lot of businesses, startups, entrepreneurs are creating Twitter accounts, YouTube channels, Facebook pages, and they're pushing information, they're marketing, but they're not thinking about what the experience is. I think they're more reacting to new technology and social than trying to lead it.
Well, I'm very intrigued by this theory of the experiential. Let's think of a few prominent digital businesses, and you tell me whether or not they are successful in the way in which you're envisaging the future of business. Is Twitter an experiential business or an experiential product?
I think it's an experiential outlet for self-expression.
How could it be improved, given your theory in terms of the future of business?
Well, I think it's getting improved now because major news networks and brands are sort of defining the value of Twitter, whereas Twitter initially didn't define its own value. So it left it to the community to take it, eventually get around to sort of defining what it is.
So it shouldn't allow its users to define it. It needs to define itself.
I think, well, Twitter's certainly lucky that it's been around and it's grown so well, because you remember one of the first major searches for Twitter was, what is Twitter? And that was because people couldn't figure it out. So it became sort of this collective experience that defined it, which it's actually a good point, because that, if you don't define it, it'll be defined for you.
Facebook? That's not very experiential, is it?
No.
Is it dead, Brian?
I don't think...
You can announce it now. Facebook is finished.
No, Facebook is part of our life. It's home for our digital persona,
but it's not experiential.
It's not. It's a channel for, it's a conduit for experiences.
Well, give me some examples of current businesses or maybe startups you've seen that really represent how you see the future of business.
I'm really bullish on Uber. I think it's an experience business because it, number one, solves a problem. You don't see people tweeting and writing reviews about how wonderful it is to take a New York City taxi cab, because it's not. It's a painful experience. But being able to develop a platform that connects you with drivers that...
But why is that experiential? It's just a service, right? It's like the telephone.
It is a service, but it's a service that takes pride in itself, right? And every aspect around it is designed to share experiences. So if you're a passenger, you share the experience that you had with that driver. If you're a driver, you want better shared experiences. Every time I get in an Uber car, I ask the driver to tell me their story. And some of the most amazing things come out about how much time they spend cleaning out the car before they come to get you, making sure that it's presentable so that you feel like you're getting not just a ride, but an experience.
And I guess you would include Airbnb as well in this thing.
I would say that Airbnb as a technology is certainly innovative. I don't know that it's experiential because there's certainly horror stories about places where people stay, but so far, I'm almost 100% of every driver, what they do to their car to make sure that someone, and the questions they ask you as you get into the car.
What are the big opportunities, Brian, in this evolving experiential economy? Is it in entertainment? Is it in information, medical, education?
I think it's everything, right? Because the thing that stitches us together isn't just the relationships that, say, you and I have in social networks or apps that we use or phones that we use. I think it's the things that we share in those channels that bind us. And so if you look at the quantified self, for example, I do believe it's something I call the human API, where our body, for example, becomes a platform. So if we have a Fitbit, if we have a sleep aid, if we have a scale, these things don't just connect to us and then connect to social networks to broadcast what we're doing or how much we've run, for example, or how much weight we've lost, that they actually start to work together and eventually brings in healthcare, brings in employers, brings in everything around a common platform that is us as an individual.
So you think healthcare is going to be really exciting in this particular area? And education?
I hope education becomes part of this. Look, I just presented at a big conference for universities, and they're struggling to market themselves, to better teach younger millennial students and Generation Z that follows them. And one of the things about the book is I told them, look, if I have to change how I write and present information, you're going to have to do the same thing with textbooks and syllabuses and how you expect to engage a distracted or connected student within your classroom. So yeah, I think there's innovation on the horizon. I just don't think there's clarity to what it is, or unification.
Was this an experiential interview, Brian?
Well, Andrew, everything's always an experience with you.
I couldn't say it better myself. Brian Solis, the author of the experiential book, What's the Future of Business? WTF. Always a pleasure, and I hope it won't take me another year to get you back on my show.
Andrew, it's always a pleasure. Thank you.